The history of colonialism in Ghana. What if I told you that long before Ghana became Ghana, powerful kingdoms ruled this land, traded with the world, and controlled gold so valuable that foreigners called it the Gold Coast? Today's story is not just about colonialism. It's about ambition, greed, resistance, and survival. This is the story of how Ghana was colonized, how it was ruled, and how it fought its way to freedom. Welcome to the History Guide. Before Europeans arrived, the land we now call Ghana was not empty and not primitive. It was home to powerful states like the Ghana Empire, earlier, further north, the Moldagbani states in the north, and later, the mighty Asante Empire in the forest zone. These societies had organized governments, strong armies, trade networks across West and North Africa. Gold was everywhere. In fact, gold was so abundant that it attracted traders from across the Sahara long before Europe ever showed up. But everything changed in 1471 when strangers arrived from the sea. In 1471, the Portuguese landed on the coast. They weren't conquerors at first. They were traders. They came for gold, and in 1482, they built Elmina Castle, the first European castle in sub-Saharan Africa. Soon, other European powers followed. The Dutch, the Danes, the Swedes, the British. All of them built forts and castles along the coast. But at this stage, Africans were still in control. European traders needed permission from local rulers to trade. Colonialism had not yet begun, but the foundation was being laid. By the 1600s, trade changed. Gold was no longer enough. Europe wanted labor for plantations in the Americas, and Africa became the source. The transatlantic slave trade began. Millions of Africans were captured, sold, and shipped across the ocean through forts like Elmina Castle, Cape Coast Castle. Some African leaders resisted. Others collaborated, often due to pressure, warfare, or economic survival. This era weakened societies, created mistrust, and made it easier for Europeans to later take control. When the slave trade was abolished in the 1800s, Europe needed a new way to profit. That's when colonialism truly began. By the 19th century, the British had become the strongest European power on the coast. They wanted total control of trade, political authority, access to resources. But there was a problem: the Asante Empire. The Asante were powerful, organized, and unwilling to bow to British rule. This led to a series of conflicts known as the Anglo-Asante Wars. Between 1824 and 1900, the British and Asante fought multiple wars. The final blow came in 1900 during the famous War of the Golden Stool, led by Ya Asantewaa, a queen mother who dared to stand against British authority. Though the British eventually defeated Asante, the resistance left a powerful legacy. By 1901, the British officially declared the area a colony called the Gold Coast. Under British rule, Ghana was governed to benefit Britain, not Africans. The British introduced indirect rule, using chiefs to enforce colonial policies, cash crop farming, especially cocoa, Western-style education, and Christianity. While some infrastructure was built, roads, railways, schools, it came at a cost. Africans had little political power, paid heavy taxes, were excluded from top government positions. The economy was designed to export raw materials, not develop local industries. Colonialism brought development, but on British terms. Still, something important was happening. A new educated African elite was emerging, and they were beginning to question colonial rule. By the early 1900s, educated Ghanaians began demanding political representation, better working conditions, self-government. Groups like the UGCC, United Gold Coast Convention, were formed. Then came a man who would change everything: Kwame Nkrumah. He believed independence was not something to ask for, it was something to demand. With mass protests, strikes, and political pressure, the British realized colonial rule could not last forever. On March 6, 1957, the Gold Coast became Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence. Colonialism had ended, but its effects remained. Borders drawn by Europeans. Economic dependence. Political systems inherited from Britain. Yet, independence inspired the entire continent. As Nkrumah said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of Africa.